It is no secret that San Diego has a backlog of repairs for broken streets, potholes, and cracked sidewalks. The price tag on those fixes could be as high as $5 billion. The city has long struggled to find the money, but Councilman Kersey thinks he may have found 3 sources of funding, and he wants to put his idea to a public vote. He joins me now. Councilman Kersey, thanks for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me.
Where would the money for the infrastructure repairs come from under your plan?
Well, what we're doing is going to send to the voters in June a charter amendment that would provide a dedicated revenue stream specifically for infrastructure. We've never had this before, and had this been done 30 years ago, we wouldn't be in the infrastructure crisis we are today. And so what we're going to do is set up a mechanism by which we are securing future growth out of the city's general fund. Primarily from sales tax as well as pension savings. As our pension payments start to decline, we're going to reap a good amount of savings, and we're going to be able to invest that money back into our neighborhoods.
Okay, and let's talk about pension savings. When do you expect those pension savings to start up?
Well, based on the current actuarial tables, we're expecting in about 11 to 12 years, we're going to have a pretty good drop off in the amount that comes out of the city's general fund, which is kind of our day-to-day operating fund. That's going to get reduced pretty substantially. And then in 2029, it gets reduced even more. And so you're talking about potentially an extra $100 million annually that we're going to have for infrastructure investment.
Okay, and what about sales tax? What's the average growth in sales tax annually?
The average growth is about 3%. It fluctuates, obviously. If we're in a recession, it goes down, and some years it goes up more than 3%. But the average is about 3%. And so when you set a baseline year, which is what we're going to do, and then you allow it to grow the baseline just a little bit to allow for other things to get their funding, we're going to capture that increment, that amount in between, just the natural growth in the economy as San Diegans spend more, and there's just more things to for them to buy. So it's not a tax increase per se. It's really just capturing the growth that's already going to be there.
Now, you had toyed with the idea of a bond measure. Why is this idea better?
Well, the bond, if it was backed by a tax increase, would require a vote of the people to do that. And for me, I can't in good conscience ask the people to raise their taxes to support a bond like that if we're not showing that future city leaders are going to have to prioritize infrastructure spending. The current council and mayor are committed to infrastructure, but previous ones have not been, and we don't know that future ones will be either. And so having the voter mandate in the charter that this will forever be a priority for city leaders is critical, and that's why we're going this route.
So what is your sales pitch to the voters?
The sales pitch is we need the voters to give City Hall a mandate that infrastructure spending will forever be a priority for the way the city spends taxpayer dollars. And this is the way we're going to secure it. This is something that, frankly, should have been done a long time ago. And if this passes, which I expect it will, voters will never again have to worry that city politicians won't be cognizant of the needs of infrastructure.
The Chamber of Commerce calls this a solid option. Councilman Gloria worries that it may be ballot box budgeting. What's your response?
Well, in an ideal world, you wouldn't have to do this, right? In an ideal world, city leaders would do the right thing. They'd prioritize public safety and infrastructure, which are the 2 biggest things the city does and is responsible for that nobody else does for us, and you wouldn't have this problem. The issue is that over the years, what's shown is that city leaders have not prioritized infrastructure, and that's why we're in the crisis that we are today. So I agree with him in theory, this shouldn't be necessary, but in practice, it's shown that the city leaders just haven't prioritized infrastructure the way that they should.
Do you expect opposition from the city's employee unions who might say, look, we think some of this extra money should go toward employee raises?
I don't think so. We've had discussions already. We've outreach to a lot of different folks around town, including some of the labor folks. And I think that if we craft this the right way, you're going to see that some of them are actually going to be supportive of it, or at the least neutral. And when you look at the people actually doing the work, a lot of those folks are city employees, right? So, if you're talking about engineers or project managers or facilities maintenance guys or pothole crews, I mean, these are city employees, and so this is money that's going to be dedicated to those folks having long-term work, which is good. We need that work done.
Does this proposal prioritize infrastructure spending over police and fire or other community needs like rec centers or libraries?
It does not. I mean, the thing about infrastructure is that it touches almost every facet of the city. So we've heard from our police officers that they really would like to see the police stations refurbished because a lot of them are in pretty bad shape. We've heard from our firefighters that we need to build more fire stations in underserved parts of town, and we know that. So I think what you're going to see is groups like that are going to be supportive of the concept of this because it's going to get them the facilities that our police and firefighters need.
We're going to close it there. Councilman, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.